The Madison Season 2 might just be arriving much sooner than any of us expected. But honestly, the emotional chaos inside this family, it's far from over. Because after everything that went down in the fallout of Season 1, it really doesn't feel like these characters are simply grieving anymore.
Now, it feels like they're literally rebuilding their entire lives from the ground up. If the first chapter of the story was defined by absolute heartbreak, diving into this explainer points toward a second season defined by healing, love, and incredibly difficult new beginnings. But at the same time, not everyone is quite ready to move forward. That finale, it changed everything.
Part 1. Life After Grief and Stacy's New Beginning. Let's dive right into her journey, because this is where the core of the emotional weight truly lies. After spending most of the first season trying to understand exactly why Preston loved Montana so deeply, Stacy slowly began changing in ways even she never saw coming. If you watch Season 1 closely, you probably noticed that at first, Montana just felt temporary. It was basically just another painful reminder of everything she had lost. But little by little, something shifted. The quiet life, the freedom, the sheer emotional peace, it all worked on her. For the first time in a long time, Stacy stopped surviving and started rediscovering herself. By the end of Season 1, her secret decision to return to Montana without telling a soul felt incredibly important. Emotionally, that wasn't just a move, it was a declaration. Heading into Season 2, I really don't think we're going to see Stacy drowning in grief anymore. Instead, we're looking at a completely different version of her, someone stronger, someone finally learning how to carry loss without letting it completely destroy her.
And strangely enough, the person who might help her the absolute most could actually be Cade. Season 1 quietly showed us that trust was genuinely growing there. If Stacy truly commits to this ranch life, Cade could easily become one of the most important people in her entire future. Now, not necessarily romantically right out of the gate, but emotionally. He's the anchor that might help her answer a genuinely terrifying question. What does life after grief actually look like?
Section 2. Abby and Van's future. At the same time, her daughters are walking equally profound paths, and Abby's story honestly feels far from over. One of the most beautiful things Season 1 explored was Abby slowly realizing that she deserved happiness too. For years, she sacrificed so much of herself for a family, for responsibility, and for sheer survival. But Montana changed her. For the very first time, she stopped thinking only about everyone else.
And then came Van Davis. Honestly, their chemistry felt way too strong to just ignore. The way they connected at the ranch proved those feelings never disappeared. The fact that Abby still reached out to him, even after leaving Montana, tells us absolutely everything we need to know.
Leaving Montana was step 1. Reaching out, that was step 2. Now, with Stacy likely staying in Montana, step 3, Abby's return, feels almost inevitable. And if that happens, Season 2 could easily turn Abby and Van into one of the absolute strongest emotional storylines of the entire series. But, relationships and shows like this are never simple. Blending these entirely different lives is going to bring difficult adjustments and some really deep emotional conflicts.
Part 3. Escaping the artificial life and Paige's transformation. Then there's Paige, and she might just end up having the biggest transformation of all. Because while Abby seemed emotionally freer out west, Paige looked immediately trapped the exact moment she set foot back in New York.
This juxtaposition right here is everything. On one side, you have New York, the pressure, the ambition, the artificial lifestyle. None of it felt like home to her anymore. And on the other side, Montana, stable, comforting, real. After everything she experienced, it became so obvious that part of her deeply craved something slower. That's exactly why Russell feels so incredibly important to her future. He represents that grounded reality she's suddenly desperate for.
If Season 2 pushes Paige and Russell back toward Montana together, their relationship is going to deepen significantly. In fact, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if this becomes the season where they finally start building the family they've always dreamed about. Emotionally, their relationship feels fully ready for something much, much bigger.
Chapter 4. Expanding the Montana Community. Now, let's zoom out from the romance for a second to look at the deeper, macro themes quietly building right underneath the surface of Taylor Sheridan's world. The Madison is setting up something profound.
Season 1 really only scratched the surface of these core pillars: community, family, identity, Native American culture, and the local relationships surrounding the ranch. Knowing how deeply these elements matter in Sheridan's cinematic universe, you can fully expect Season 2 to completely immerse you in these community conflicts. This is what's going to make exploring this story even richer than the first go-around. We are absolutely going to see much deeper emotional depth and cultural storytelling.
Section 5. Season 2 Release Date. So let's talk about the biggest question on everyone's minds right now. When are we actually getting Season 2? Well, the good news is pretty fascinating. Production reportedly wrapped before Season 1 even fully finished airing.
Which means the wait might not be nearly as painful as we originally feared. Right now, early 2027 feels like the most realistic window. And honestly, that timing makes perfect sense. If things stay on schedule, the Madison could easily become one of those rare, emotionally gripping shows that fans actually get to experience every single year.
So, the crucial point we are left with is this. Will Montana finally help this family heal, or are even bigger emotional storms waiting on the horizon?